Hey, this is Donna, the Transdimensional Twin Flame and the Afterlife Artist. I am here with my friend Melafon again for session 14. It's February 22nd, 2026. Again, if you've not seen this video series before, I am a twin flame, and my twin flame is across the veil. That's why we call ourselves the Transdimensional Twin Flame. So I'm an expert in After Death Communication, and I am a psychic super experiencer with basically almost all psychic senses that you can imagine and all kinds of after death communication. And I'm also a remote viewer, a channel, an energy channel, and an image channel. I'm what's known as a visionary artist, which means I channel my artwork from source consciousness, from higher dimensions, and I have the ability to embed high energy frequencies and codes into my artwork. It also comes out in my writing, so if you're watching this, you're getting some high vibrational codes. You're not only getting good information from what I believe is an extraterrestrial that I connected with during a remote viewing session, but you're getting these frequencies from higher consciousness. I am connected to the goddess, the same goddess that Chris Bledsoe calls the lady, the same being that Kaya Ra wrote about in the Sophia Dragon Code, that called herself Sophia. When I met her in 2015, I awakened in a spontaneous Kundalini in the black light of source consciousness. I bilocated there. That was my first instance of spontaneous bilocation, which means I was there in the center of the universe in the blackness, and it was the womb of the universe. It was blissful. I had a Kundalini, and I had stepped into the violet flame during a guided meditation. And when I stepped into the flame is when I went into source with the goddess. And I saw her. She was a beautiful goddess wearing a goddess type gown. And she had long, flowing, beautiful hair and wings. And she had violet flaming lotuses in her upturned palms. And what I have learned in the years since this event is that she is God. She still comes to me. And I put it together partially from my experiences last year in 2025, spending 2 weeks with Chris Bledsoe and his family, watching orbs and remote viewing the orbs, and remote viewing Chris's first experience with the lady. I also read his book and put it all together, that the government knows who this being is, and they are closely guarding and watching people who experience her. It's the same being that we're all experiencing, and she is the reason our group was a group of remote viewers. That's how we met Chris, with our remote viewing teacher, Bertie Jawowski. And the goddess called us back together a few months later in December 2025 through me. We were all going to go to Washington, D.C. for the State of the World Forum, but then the State of the World Forum was canceled in person, but it was going to be an online event. So I suggested we meet again at the same beach where we were before, and I invited my classmates and Chris Bledsoe, and about half of us were able to make it. Chris Bledsoe and his family, amazingly, were able to come, and on this trip is when we recorded unusual green orbs. I have several videos of that on this channel, and Chris Bledsoe has gone pretty viral with his still shot of the green orb that looks like it has code numbers and letters on it. The goddess showed me this incident before we went on this trip because I'm able to channel her. So I was connecting with her. She gave me an image that she wanted me to put on our group t-shirts, which I did. And I realized she was calling us all together for a reason. She was gathering us, and she wants her energy to be distributed. And that's what the t-shirts were about. I thought it was just going to be fun to have a group t-shirt because I'm a visionary artist and a designer. But what I realized afterwards was that was her energy. Her image is her energy. It's source goddess. And then she gave me a message about how we should all be open to receiving the unconditional love from her and the orbs, and then spread that love when we came home to everybody. To be open both ways, giving and receiving. And she showed me before we went on this trip the green orb with the codes, basically. She showed me all of us on the beach with orbs above us, streaming down codes of letters and numbers. And they were green, like in the Matrix. Alphanumeric. You know what I'm talking about. And it looks just like what's on the side of that orb. It's the same green, and it's the same style of letters or numbers. Whatever's the code on that orb, which Chris thinks they're dates in March. But I don't know for sure, but that's what I heard from him, the last thing I heard. So she showed me the purpose for the trip, or one of the purposes, before we ever went on the trip. And I thought it was symbolic. I said, well, yeah, we all get codes when we see the orbs. When the orbs blink, they give you information, and you're always getting some kind of information from those orbs. That's just what happens. It turned out to be literal. I was the goddess brought us together and then showed me why. And I didn't even realize until afterwards. But that's the beginning part of my story, and it just goes on from there. So this part in this journal is about an extraterrestrial called Melafon. I connected with him in a blind remote viewing session a few weeks ago. Blind remote viewing means you don't know what you're looking at, and you could be looking at anything in time and space, on the planet, off the planet, in the past, present, or future. Anybody, anything, any event, whatever. And we were tasked to view and connect with the extraterrestrial at the Varginha Brazil crash from 1996. And this being was a gorgeous, beautiful being that I described as a unicorn. I described him as such a happy, enlightened being that brings happiness wherever he goes. And he described why. That he said he always puts his focus on the most exciting and happy thing at any given moment. He chooses that. And basically, and I also drew his ship. It was a lozenge shape. It looked kind of like a blimp. There's a lot of witnesses to this event, and there's a documentary about it called Moment of Contact. There's 2 parts to it. One of them is for free on YouTube, and there's a new version of it on Prime that I have not seen yet. But this being is a super cutie, and he told me that he was excited to meet up with me, and if I would meet with him in the morning before I did anything else, that he would start helping me like we were in school. He would be my mentor, one of my guides. And I have seen him in my bilocations now. When I can bilocate to the higher dimensions, basically the upper astral is mainly where I go with my twin flame Chris. And he is now, Melafon is now with us sometimes when we go. So that's the introduction for today. And what I ended up talking to him about was how to get back into the present moment whenever I'm stressed. You know how life is right now. And so what he's teaching me is just basic life advice that anybody could use. That's why some of these videos are public. I don't know if they're all going to be public. I'm just recording them so that it sinks in and solidifies for me what he tells me. But some of this advice, some of it's personal for me, but some of it is just good for everybody. So I feel like on the ones that are good for everybody, I'll probably make the video public, because this is channeling. It's like automatic writing. And because of all the evidence I have of my abilities and the fact that some of the, what I got on the information about him on my blind remote viewing was accurate. It was very accurate. I described him and, I drew his ship. I just drew it. It was exactly right. So here goes. I'm just going to read what he said today. I am visually impaired, so sometimes it's hard for me to read this book and get it close enough to me and also keep it in frame on the phone. So I'll just do the best I can. Okay. I am in the purple and Melafon is in the blue. So I said, "Good morning, Melafon. How are you?" He says, "I'm happy as always to see you again." So I said, "What is on your mind today?" He says, "I want to congratulate you on getting tasks accomplished in the 3D that you are nervous about or that are not exactly fun. You could procrastinate, but you don't." And I said, "Thanks. I'd love to create a life where nothing is negative, meaning I don't judge any circumstance, and I'm equally at home in every present moment, fully enjoying the now, no matter what that now is. He said, yes, that's the ultimate goal. You're doing great with that. Anytime you feel yourself getting caught up in the drama of emotions, getting sucked back into the lower human 3D drama perspective, simply return to the breath. Stop, breathe, release tension, connect to the earth, connect to the divine, reclaim your balance, clear the slate, shake it off literally with physical movement, jumping up and down, bouncing, qigong, yoga, dancing. Shake up your energy. Calm the waters so you can see clearly again. And anybody who meditates already knows these things, but it's a good reminder. And if you don't meditate, I suggest you start. That'll be that'll be the best way to raise your vibration. So he continues, now that you know what all the different brainwave states feel like, you can order your brain to go to the one you need. Just say, like, go to gamma, etc. Command your body parts and internal ecosystem to relax, align, and come to order. Reassure all your parts that you're all safe and there's no need to stress. And I said, yes, thank you for the reminder. I know all that, but sometimes it's hard to remember it in the moment. And he said, what does that say? Name the process, something like align. And say that when you want to do this. It's a command and will become automatic over time. So basically he's saying whenever I need to just align back into my center point, if I'm getting stressed out or spinning out, whatever, and you know how your thoughts just go crazy sometimes and you're like, he said, just say align and then send my energy down to connect to the earth and ground myself. Send it up into the upper echelons, into the higher realms to connect to the divine and become that center point. Just breathe. You know how to do meditative breathing. Slow, deliberate in breaths and out breaths. Deep breaths. Don't forget, we don't take enough deep breaths, okay? You breathe too shallow probably in this life because we're all slightly stressed all the time or a lot stressed right now. So take time out to really breathe. Breathe into your diaphragm. Breathe in as much as you can and hold it there. And then let it all out. All of it. Get the air all the way in, fresh air, and then get it all out. Just move. It's part of moving your energy. And it's free. It's very simple and everybody can do it. So you have the tools to regulate your nervous system. You just may have not been taught how to use them, and you can learn now. Regulating your nervous system and keeping your vibration high is going to be the best thing you've ever done for yourself in the times that are coming. Okay. So then I said, makes sense, thanks. Can we talk about ET, open disclosure and contact for Earth? And he said, sure. And I said, okay, what's going on? I'm like, what is going on? So he said, haha, it is happening, but not in the way some expect. No government announcement will just clear everything up nice and neat. The corrupt government is the big reason for our presence in the first place. So don't expect them to suddenly do the right thing. They won't. This is happening through direct contact experiences with thousands of people, and now there are videos to prove it. You've all hit a tipping point of no return. The cat is out of the bag, as you say. And I said, is your race involved? He said, yes, you're talking to me now because we are, but we aren't coming in mass and stepping out front like some. There are many species that are involved in some way, but only a very few will become familiar to the mass consciousness. Slow rollout seems to be the best way to get humans used to this concept. People in a lower vibrational state will have the hardest time with it, or they will deny the reality totally and block themselves into old third density reality. Hence the reality split you've been talking about and teaching about. They will shut it down. You all create your own reality, so don't worry or focus on that. They have free will to live in delusion and denial. You've all done that throughout your lives. Keep getting the word out like you have been. Be positive and explain that we are not enemies. Humans are the aggressors here. We are obviously not, or else you all would have been taken in hand eons ago. But you have been allowed to devolve into madness. And yet, when things look the darkest, when you surrender, that's when the light can finally come in. Tell people, instead of fighting, what does it say? Instead of fighting, ignoring, bypassing, denying, or resisting their current reality, surrender to it. Give up. To fight anything is to go against inner peace. It is to go against the flow. Energy flows smoothly when allowed. Not to say you are passive. What does that say? Not to say you are passive. There are ways you must stand up for yourselves. But it's not the old way of the toxic masculine. The way you have been living under an unfair system of male oppression is ending. So the new form of resistance doesn't look like the old one. That is all any of you have ever known. It's the divine feminine now. You need to discover what that means. Choosing love, compassion, empathy, kindness, openness, inclusion, sharing, and peace is the new way. You need no one's permission to live this way. Do it. Every day, in all your interactions. Be the light. And then he made a quote. He liked to make quotes that rhyme. He said, no fight, be the light. Embody it. Talk is cheap. Those who talk too much don't know much. This is embodiment, not empty platitudes. Be kind to others. Counteract the darkness with light. Be it. Act accordingly. That's your big rebellion. To be even more loving in a world that wants to control you with fear and anger. Don't fall for that trap again. Only those ready to ascend will do this. What does that say? We'll do this. Okay, we'll do this. Lead by example. And I said, yes, thank you. So he's telling all of us to be the light. Be whatever we say we want in the world. We have to be that. You can't just sit and talk about how horrible everything is while doing nothing, even energetically. I mean, you're not even meditating and sending out light and love and healing to everybody, but you're angry all the time and fighting reality. That isn't really productive. And that's the way we've all been so far. But that's not going to work anymore. That's what got us into this mess. That toxic masculine attitude of fighting everything is what got us into this mess. So I don't care if you're male or female or how you identify. It's not about that. The masculine energy is this fighting, oppressive energy that we have to get rid of. Not getting rid of masculine energy, but the toxic masculine. We're going for divine masculine and divine feminine coming into union. But right now, the divine feminine has been seriously oppressed, and that's why the goddess is coming back. And making her presence known, because the balance will be restored. And that's why the old toxic, anything that was built on the old toxic system of masculine oppression, which was always unfair and wrong, that's going to be corrected now. And that's why systems will fall, because they need to. They need to be rebuilt. And nobody's going to just tear them down willingly to rebuild something better. That's not how our current system works, because the people in charge are the toxic masculine. They're not going to do anything for you. The systems will fall when people wake up and embody the higher vibrations that they want to see in the world. This starts from the ground up. The same way disclosure, extraterrestrial disclosure, is starting from the ground up. We don't need government announcements. You've all seen what you've seen. We've got recordings all over the place that you can look at. There's so many accounts going back for decades and decades and decades. There's been remote viewers who have seen these things, and your government knows about it, and I think we all know that because of some announcements that were made yesterday. But I mean, that wasn't news to a lot of us at all. And it's not that exciting to me anyway. I don't wait for the government to tell me what's real. In fact, whoever does that, I think you're a little misguided. But anyway, that is Melafon's advice for today. We've gotten about halfway through this little book. It's not a very big book. We've gotten this far in just a couple of weeks. And so I've got 2 more of these books when we're done with this one, if he wants to keep talking. And when I feel that these stories have relevant information for, lots of people, I'll make them public. There's a lot more that are set to private, because I just don't know, what people are going to care to see. This is just really for me. This is for my benefit, because I'm always investing in myself and trying to raise my own consciousness and expand it. So if other people benefit from it, great. That's all I've ever cared about, is that I do my work and I embody what I say. I practice what I preach. I live in a high vibration because I curate that. And then I pass on what I know in ways that I think are easiest to understand for people who haven't gone through this yet. Because a lot of people are awakening now, and it's not a smooth ride. You don't just awaken and everything's fine. You awaken and then you go through dark night of the soul. The whole world is going through dark night of the soul. And those of us who have already gone through that, it's obvious. Those of you who have not gone through that, if you're planning, if you're going through an awakening journey, you're going to go through the dark night of the soul. So these things that I've learned can very much help you get through that with some simple tools. And I'm just going to say meditation is step 1. Just meditate. Don't resist it, and don't come up with reasons why you can't. Everybody's like, oh, but I can't because I have this, this issue, and I have this brain, and I have these thoughts. And I just don't care. You can come up with excuses all day long, but it's just your resistance to doing what's natural to everyone. And if you don't want to do it, that's fine. There's no wrong and there's no right. But if you want to raise your consciousness and be involved in a higher level of earth experience where some of us are going, then you'll do it. It's as simple as that. There's no right or wrong at all. You make your own choices. But if you want what I have and what I'm talking about and what's possible, if you want some kind of improved, possibly utopian earth where everybody is taken care of, you have to do something. And it starts inside you. It's not about the old way that we used to fight the system. This is about breaking the system by changing ourselves. They can't control people who are awakened. And once you awaken and you really do your work and you clear out your lower energetic frequencies and your limiting beliefs, and you do your shadow work, then your psychic abilities start opening. And you want to be really clear when that happens. You want to do this work. So if you're watching this, you probably already know that. Or you're at least curious, because extraterrestrials, orbs, Chris Bledsoe's lady, who I call the goddess because she's God, higher consciousness, the ascended masters, the angels, our loved ones in spirit, It's all related. It's all related. So, I'm interested in all these topics, and I'm involved in all of these topics in my daily life. And so what I talk about with Melafon will be any of that. It's all coming together. It's a convergence, basically. All right, thanks. If you watched all that, I appreciate it, and I hope it helps you.